All right, let's just jump right in. On one side, you've got ancient weavers. On the other, nano-engineers. I mean, it sounds like two completely different worlds, right? Separated by thousands and thousands of years. But what if I told you they're actually part of the exact same incredible story?
So this is the big question for us today. We're going to dig into some amazing evidence from ancient Tamil Nadu, a region in southern India, and it suggests that artisans, 2 millennia ago, were not only masters of their craft, but they were, without even knowing it, playing with materials at a molecular level. And in the process, they left behind clues that connect to an even deeper, even older historical mystery.
So where does a story like this even begin? Well, it starts with something super fundamental to being human, the need for clothing. I mean, long before we had any kind of complex technology, we just had the simple act of covering ourselves.
And you can see the journey was just remarkable. Early on, people used whatever was around, leaves, animal hides, you name it. But by the Sangam period in southern India, which was this amazing era of art and literature, we see a huge leap. They were actually weaving dresses from specific plants. And then get this, by 200 BC, we have sculptures showing people in these complex, pleated cotton outfits. So this wasn't just about staying warm anymore. This was about culture, it was about status, and it was absolutely about technology.
Now, a leap like that, it doesn't just happen by accident, right? It was the result of a really sophisticated industry, a whole systematic process for turning a simple plant into a beautiful product.
And the whole process was so meticulous. First, they had to clean the raw cotton, pounding it to get every last bit of dust and impurity out. Then came the really crucial step, spinning it all into yarn, completely by hand. And only then, finally, could they weave that yarn into cloth. I mean, each and every stage required just immense skill and patience.
So who were the masters of this incredible craft? Well, ancient literature and archaeology all point in the same direction. It was primarily women. They were known as cotton women, and they basically managed this entire production chain, often running it like a small business, right out of their own homes. They were the engine of the entire textile industry.
And the quality of their work, it was absolutely legendary. Just listen to this quote from ancient Sangam literature. It paints such a stunning picture. Fabrics so fine and so soft that they were compared to milk spirit and thin paper. We're not talking about rough cloth here. This was a luxury good, a real testament to their incredible skill.
And they didn't just master weaving, they totally mastered color too. Using local plants and materials, they came up with these advanced dyeing techniques. They could get a vibrant blue from the aviary plant, a rich red from tree sap, and a whole rainbow of other colors. This was basically ancient chemistry in action.
Okay, so running parallel to these amazing weavers were another group of essential artisans, the potters. And just like the weavers, they were transforming raw materials from the earth into objects for daily life that were, frankly, incredibly sophisticated.
The potter's process was a science in its own right. They didn't just grab any old clay. They created a custom mix, adding sand, ash, and even a type of sugar called jaggery before letting it all soak. Then came the real magic of the wheel, shaping the clay with expert hands before firing it in a super hot kiln to turn that soft earth into a hard, durable vessel.
And this just brilliantly shows off their engineering mindset. They didn't just have one kind of potter's wheel. They actually adapted their tools for the job. For smaller items, the simple ballpoint rotator was fine. But for bigger vessels, they needed something more advanced, the cone slot rotator, a much more stable design that could handle way more clay.
Okay, so we've got expert weavers on one side, ingenious potters on the other. But it's with one specific type of pottery that our story takes a wild turn, right into the world of 21st century science. And this is where things get seriously fascinating.
Have a look at this. It's known as black and red ware. And you can see why, right? It's got this distinctive two-tone thing going on, a red exterior and this glossy black interior. Archaeologists find these pots all over. And what's wild is how incredibly well preserved they are.
And that incredible preservation led to a huge question, just how? How in the world did they create a finish that could last for more than 2 millennia without fading or decaying or losing its shine? What was their secret?
Well, for the longest time, everyone just assumed it was some kind of paint or glaze, but when scientists actually analyzed it, they found something way more advanced. The secret wasn't something they put on top of the pot, it was something they created inside the material itself, using a really unique firing technique that required them to hit a super precise temperature, 1100 degrees Celsius.
And at that exact temperature, something amazing happened. The organic stuff in the clay transformed, creating a layer of carbon nanotubes. Yep, you're looking at them right there. These are microscopic structures made of carbon atoms, and they are literally one of the strongest materials known to science. These ancient potters were, for all intents and purposes, nano-engineers. And to put that into perspective for you, carbon nanotubes have a tensile strength 100 times higher than steel of the same size. That's why that black coating doesn't decay. It isn't paint, it's a super strong, atomically engineered layer that has kept these pots looking amazing for thousands of years. So finding 2,400-year-old nanotechnology is, well, it's mind-blowing enough. But these pots hold one last profound secret. A secret that connects these ancient artisans to one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in all of ancient history. See, after the pots were fired and finished, some of them were marked. People would scratch these symbols onto the surface. Archaeologists just call it graffiti. But these weren't just random scribbles. They seemed to be very specific, repeating symbols.
Okay, now this is where it gets truly wild. On the left, you see the symbols scratched onto the pottery found there in Tamil Nadu. Now look to the right. Those are letters from the still undeciphered script of the Indus Valley Civilization, one of the world's oldest cultures, which vanished more than 1,000 years earlier and thousands of kilometers away. Just look at them side by side. The resemblance it's just undeniable.
And this isn't just a one-off thing. When we look at where these specific graffiti marks have been found, the data is just striking. A full 75% of these symbols, the ones that look so much like the Indus script, have been discovered in South India, in these Tamil-speaking regions.
Which leaves us with one final, absolutely tantalizing question. The writings of the Indus Valley are one of history's great enigmas. Is it possible that these ancient artisans, these masters of weaving, pottery, and even nanotechnology, were also the carriers of a cultural memory, a linguistic link to a much, much older civilization? The answer might just be waiting for us in the next piece of shattered pottery we pull from the earth.